Today I'm going to be showing you how I created this trendy Instagram product video. Just as a disclaimer, I did not shoot this product video for Nike. I just bought these shoes with the intention of shooting a product video like this. And secondly, this way of shooting this type of product video is not my original idea. Austen Paul has an amazing video of this whole process, and I basically saw that idea and wanted to turn it into my own thing. So without further ado, let's get into the video. When I like to shoot any of my videos, I like to first start off with the music. Shooting something with a song already in mind basically sets the tone on how you're going to shoot the video, and it makes the process a lot more smoother. The music service that I use is called artlist.io. I haven't tried any other ones. I know there's Epidemic Sound, Musically, and a couple others, but this is the one I've been using and I haven't had any problems with it. And what I like to do is sit down for a couple hours and just pick out songs that I like to basically build a database. When I'm making any videos, I can just choose from that. I don't just go to the service and say, oh, I want that song, that song. I basically make a list at a time because it can be very time consuming finding good music. And then planning for this shoot, I wanted a song that was very punchy, in your face, and grab your attention. The next thing to consider is the shots you want. So you basically make a shot list. And sometimes I like to plan my edits to a specific shot list, and sometimes I just make a shot list and this is what I want and not specifically a major plan. And in this shoot, it was the second option. I know I wanted two shots. One with the shoe spinning, and I'm gonna manipulate that in my editing software. And the second was gonna be a hero shot at the end to just basically highlight the whole product that I'm doing. And the shots in between, I was gonna actually just freestyle. Now for the actual setup, the backdrop I'm using is just seamless paper on a roll, very convenient. For my camera equipment, I'm using a Sony a7 III in a cage, and then a Tamron 28 to 75mm f.2 lens. The accessories I have on my cage is a monitor, a top handle, and a rail system that just connects to my tripod. I like to use a cage and a rail system because it lets me add accessories that I want, and also it just adds more weight to the camera. And so this makes your movements more fluid and less jittery. And especially with a top handle, you can get some nice fluid shots handheld. The tripod I'm using is a Manfrotto with a fluid head. This just gives me the options to do smooth pans and tilts. But for the majority of the shoot, this tripod was locked off, and some of the other shots were actually just shot handheld. The main shot, which is going to be the beginning shot, has the shoe rotating. And to do this, you can use a turntable. You can buy a motorized turntable, or you can spin one by hand and then manipulate it in post-production. There's lots of turntables out there, and the ones that I saw that I wanted basically were a little expensive, so I just ended up building my own. And this turntable is just made out of a simple servo with a gearbox. That servo is connected to an on and off switch, and then also a servo tester. This is just a temporary setup for now. I intend to actually put an Arduino board so I can actually get continuous motion. Right now, the servo tester just puts it to its end limits. So it doesn't give me entirely 360-degree motion, but for this shot, I don't exactly need that. For this setup, I'm actually taking off the top pattern, and then I'm putting a threaded rod through the center of the mechanism. And then I can tighten that down with two nuts, and then that gives me now a spinning rod in exactly the center of the turntable. Now with that, I can attach anything that I want to the threaded rod, and that will give me my basically 360 motion with only one single point of contact. So I originally thought with the treads in the shoe that I would be able just to glue it on, but that wasn't necessarily the case. I actually had to put another nut on top and then use some sort of table. So I just used the top of a film canister, drilled a hole through that, and then screwed that down with another nut. It wasn't entirely rigid, but it worked for my case. And then I just took some hot glue and I put that on the film canister lid and then put the shoe right in the center. So the mistake I made here is I didn't stylize the shoe how I wanted it before I put it on, so I ended up having to taking it off. Always stylize your products and then put it in the final placement. So in this case, I just wanted the shoelaces undone and then pull out the tongue of the shoe so the Nike Air logo was actually showing. Now with that, our product is set up and we're able to move to lighting. For this video, I'm using two lights, and these are the Godox VL150s. And I have two diffusers. In this case, I have a dome softbox and then a linear dome softbox. The reason I'm using two lights like this is I want to fill both sides of the product as well, light the background evenly throughout. So when we go into post-production, it's much easier to do our effects. The first sequence you see in the video is one shot, and this shot is this of the shoe rotating. So I stationed my camera on the tripod at the shoe's height and locked it off. And then I basically just turned on the turntable and have it rotating. So when I'm shooting this object, my aperture is set at f4, and the aperture is basically the iris of the camera. The lower the aperture, the more the iris is open, and that gives you more light coming into the sensor, but also gives you a shallower depth of field. So that means your plane of focus is very small. But when you increase your aperture, the plane of focus gets wider, and then much more is in focus, but you don't get as a shallow depth of field. But that is a very stylized thing, and when you're shooting products, you generally want to use a higher aperture so everything is in focus in the product. You don't want to just be highlighting like the tip of the shoe, or in this case, just the logo. If you want to do that, you can, but in this case, for this shot, I wanted to basically focus on all of the shoe. So it was trial and error with shooting the first shot. Sometimes the shoe was tipping due to just the weight of the shoe. And then in another case, it just wasn't tilting on the exact plane I wanted to. It was like tilted and then it would rotate like that. So I had to try a bunch of times just to get the shoe where I wanted. And after that, this is the final shot. The next shot in the sequence is still shot on a tripod, but I have the tripod tilted up, and then I have the rotation of the shoe landing on the logo. So I just do a bunch of trial and error to actually get that shot and that movement, and then this is the result. For this shot, I did a similar thing, but I'm tilting slightly down at the shoe, and then I just wanted the logo to pass through the lens, and that was it. Now I'm just setting up here for the last shot, which is known as your hero shot. So this is just basically the final shot of the sequence that shows you what the product is. In this case, it's just a shoes with a shoebox, but stylized in a nice manner. And then for the last couple shots in the sequence, I just basically took the camera and held it close to my body, and these were all shot at handheld at 120 frames per second, so I can slow it down in post and have that smooth motion. And then for the last shot, I basically did a push in, and this is with my body. I wanted it to be kind of like, have that handheld look. I like the handheld look. I could have done this easily on a slider, but I wanted to push in kind of shaky and then kind of speed ramp to the end. So this is just a behind the scenes on how I planned and shot this video, but if you guys are interested in an editing tutorial, please let me know in the comments below. And there's a link in the description to Austen Paul's video on how he basically shot a similar sequence, but with his own creative twist on it. Anyways, if you guys enjoy the content, please leave a like and subscribe for more.